Susan Langer, though enjoys a status of an important aesthete of early 20th century in America, unfortunately, today she is seldom remembered as an influential figure in the realm of aesthetic thinking. However, her attempts to fathom the relationship between the human feelings and their symbolic expression, the nature of these symbols and their formal analysis do merit for a greater attention, particularly from the community of indulging into creative activity. Her works, like an introduction to symbolic logic, philosophy in a new key, feeling and form, a theory of art, etc., address the contemporary issues, but she did not get the attention and importance that her senior contemporaries and friends like Alfred Whitehead or Ernst Cassirer did. Susan Langer's writing divulged an earnest attempt to inquire into the complex process of creation. When we talk about art with a capital A, that is, when we talk about all of the arts, it is a constant temptation to say things about it in a general sense and to assume that what holds true to one should hold true for other too. The principles that obtain wholly and fundamentally in every kind of art are a few but decisive. They determine what is art and what is not. Expressiveness is one definite and appropriate sense, is the same in all artworks of any kind. What is created in any two artworks is not the same, but the principles of creation is the same. A work of art is an expressive form created for our perception through sense or imagination, and what it expresses is human feeling. The word feeling here should be taken in a broader sense, meaning everything that can be felt, from physical sensation, pain and comfort to most complex emotions of a conscious human life. In explaining a work of art, the word form, expressive and created are the key words which will keep us engaged. Let us first understand what is first meant here by form. The form often denotes the familiar structure or characteristic structures known as a sonnet form or symphony in music and so on. The other sense in which the artist speaks of form is when they say form follows function. They are using form in a wider sense, which on one hand is close to the common popular meaning, namely just the shape of a thing, and on the other hand to the unpopular meaning where it is taken to be a more abstract form, a whole resulting from the relations of mutually dependent factors, or more precisely the way that the whole is put together. The abstract sense, which is sometimes called logical form, is involved in the notion of expression. Let us consider the most obvious sort of form, the shape of an object, for example, a lampshade. In a shop, one might find shades of various sizes and shapes. Once you take a piece and realize it to be longer than the one that could fit into your room space, you start looking for a smaller size on the same shapes, possibly of another material as well as another color. While none of the actual measurements are alike, their congruent shapes and respective spatial factors put together make them look alike and exemplify the same form. Likewise, our two hands also exemplify the same form with the principle of reversal, that is mirror images. These objects that we have considered above have fixed shapes. Their parts remain in stable relations to each other. But there are also substances that have no definite shape, such as gases, mists, and water, which takes the shape of any bounded space that contains them. These substances, at a certain point in motion, display specific shapes without the container, for example, the whirlwind. As soon as the motion stops, the existence of such shape disappears. These are not shapes but forms of motion or dynamic forms. Some dynamic forms have permanent shapes, for example, a waterfall. Due to the constant flow of water, there is more water taking the same path every time, and therefore the lasting shape that made gives us the dynamic form. The expressive form is any imaginable whole that explains the relationship of parts or points of aspects within the whole, so that it may be taken to represent some of other whole whose elements have analogous relations. The reason for using such a form as a symbol is usually that the thing it represents is not perceivable or really imaginable. The understanding of one thing through another seems to be an intuitive process of the human brain that we often have difficulty in distinguishes the symbolic expressive from what is conveys. The symbol seems to be the thing itself or be contained in it. The most developed symbolic device humans have evolved is language. By means of language, we can conceive the intangible, we call it ideas, and that which we call as facts. It is by this language that we can think, remember, imagine, and finally conceive a universe of facts. We can communicate in a series of audible words, a pattern that is commonly known and understood. This use of language is discourse and the pattern that is commonly known and understood. This use of language is discourse, and the pattern of discourse is known as discursive form. When we want to express a relationship for which there is no word or connective word, we look for a metaphor to describe it as something else. A metaphor is not language. It is an idea expressed by language or through language, which in turn functions as a symbol to express something. It is not discursive and therefore does not make a statement of the idea it conveys, but forms a new conception for our understanding. Sometimes our understanding of a totally new experience is mediated by a metaphorical symbol. Because the experience is new and the language has words and phrases only for the familiar notions and experiences. We believe that art is an expression of feelings. The function that makes the work an expressive form is not symptomatic at all. An artist working on a tragedy need not be in personal despair or violent upheaval. A disturbing scream or cry of a baby is a self-expression without composition and lucidity, but we don't go into concert hall to hear a baby cry or scream. We don't want self-expression. A work of art presents feelings, in a broad sense, as anything that can be felt for our contemplation, making it visible or audible in some way through a symbol, not a symptom. Work of art are projections of felt-like forms into spatial, temporal and poetic structure. They are images of feelings that formulated and or our cognition. Artistic forms are more complex than any other symbolic forms that we know. They are not abstractable from the works that exhibits them. The form in the senses in which the artist speaks of significant form or expressive form is not an abstracted structure, but the shapes, colors, lines and masses, looks, emotions and their feelings. What he expresses is therefore not his own actual feelings, but what he knows about human beings. It is a developed metaphor, a non-discursive symbol. The work as a whole is the image of the feeling, which may be called the art symbol. It is a single organic composition, which means that its elements are expressive in their own right of various emotional ingredients, as words are constituents of the discourse and have meaning in their own manner, which composes the complete meaning of discourse. Language is a system of symbols, symbolism, with fairly elastic meanings and rules for combination, whereas larger units, phrases, sentences may be constructed, expressing build-up ideas. Art, on the contrary, is not symbolism. The elements of art are always newly created with the total image, and although it is possible to analyze what they contribute to the image, it is not possible to assign them any of its import apart from the whole. That is, the characteristics of the organic form. The import of a work of art is its life, which, like actual life, is an indivisible phenomenon. The art symbol is a single symbol, and its elements are not compounded or particular symbolic values. It is like most painters called absolute image. If the art symbol is a single indivisible symbol and its import is never compounded or contributive elements, then how can we talk about symbols used by many artists? Symbols do occur in art, and in many cases they contribute notably to the work. Symbols in art connote holiness or sin or rebirth or womanhood or love, tyranny and so forth. These meanings enter into the work of art as elements, creating and articulating its organic form, just as its subject matter enter into the construction. All such elements are genuine symbols. They have meanings, and the meanings may be stated. These meanings enter the work of art as elements, creating and articulating its organic form, just as its subject matter. Fruits on a platter, horses on a beach, enter into its construction. Their meanings are not part of the import. Their meanings of the incorporated symbol may lend richness, intensity, repetition or reflection, perhaps an entirely new balance to the work itself. The function in the normal manner of symbols, they mean something beyond what they present in themselves. Whether the interpretation is to be carried out or skipped depends largely on the reader or the viewer. The important point is that there is a literal meaning or more connoted by the symbol that occurs in the work of art. Susan Langer considers virtual form as a symbol. These aesthetic symbols are of two types. One is discursive and non-discursive, where the discursive symbol may have elements of non-discursive symbols. She differentiates sign and symbol further, dividing sign into two kinds, the man-made signs and the natural signs. For example, if you see smoke, you treat it as a sign of fire. A particular sign has a particular meaning associated to it. This is a natural sign. The man-made sign does not have anything intrinsic to the signified. Sign is a connection between the signifier and the signified. For example, the Red Cross associated to the hospital. These are imposed relationships. It is a matter of unanimous acceptance. Sign is formulated for the matter of convenience, for conveying meanings without any confusion. Sign has a natural relationship and it has to be understood. As soon as it is understood, its importance is lost. Symbols leave themselves open for interpretation. Sometimes several signs come together to form a symbol. For example, every mudra in Indian classical dance style is associated to a different meaning. Similarly, every word in a poem has a specific meaning, but collectively they may express a different meaning. Every sign is a component of a significatory system. Thus, every mudra is a component of a dance. They come together to communicate something to the viewer. Every word joins to convey the full meaning of the poetry and the emotions behind it. She talks of symbols working in two patterns, discursive and non-discursive. The discursive symbols are like those found in poetry and literature. They are sequential in nature. They need to be understood in the given sequence and is governed by the person who issues it. For example, the poet. The non-discursive symbols are mostly seen in paintings and visual experiences, where the choice of interpretation is or the sequence of interpretation is not suggested to the viewer. It is open to his personal choice, even in the case where the narrative is known to the viewer. The discursive becomes discursive only if we are aware of the narrative. A rare chance is when a poem can give you a non-sequential experience and a painting can give you a sequential experience. The understanding changes. Susan Langer talks about three types of narrative working within the visual arts. One is the episodic narrative, where the narrative is shown in episodes, organized in a sequence. For example, the Sanchi Toran. The synoptic narrative. This kind of narrative elements the micro-units of the complete episode. For example, the angel came to Mother Mary to tell her that the Son of God will be born of her. This is shown eliminating the conversation of the angel and the Mother Mary. Instead, they have directly shown Christ born to Mother Mary. The continuous narrative. Here, all the episodes are shown distributing all over the given space, not in a sequential order. For example, in Amravati, the Chaddanta Jataka story. It is a circular narrative where there is the depiction of an elephant with 6 trunks taken from the stories before the birth of Buddha. The visual language has the capacity to be autonomous. The device which connects the micro-units is not present in the visual language. The use of symbols in art is a fine principle of construction, a device. Symbols occurring in art are simply symbols in usual sense. For simplest directness to extreme directness, from singleness to deep interpretations. They have meanings that any semanticist would accept. Those meanings, as well as those images which convey them, enter into the world of art as elements in composition them, serve to create the work, the expressive form. The art symbol, on the other hand, is the expressive form. It is not a symbol in the full familiar sense, for it does not convey something beyond itself. Therefore, it cannot be said to have a meaning. What it does is import of a symbol in a spatial and derivative sense, because it does not fulfill all the functions of a true symbol. It formulates and objectifies experiences for the intellectual perception or intuition. The symbol of art is a metaphorical image with literal signification. The art symbol is the absolute image, the image of what otherwise would be irrational.